Have you ever laid next to someone you love, pretending to be asleep, while their words shatter your entire world? The blue light of her phone painted a ghostly glow on her face in our dark Chicago bedroom. It was 2:17 in the morning. I heard the soft tap-tap-tap of her thumbs, followed by a whispered giggle that wasn't meant for me. She thought I was lost in dreams, but I was wide awake, listening to the death of our marriage, one text message at a time. The last thing I saw before I squeezed my eyes shut was her smiling at the screen, a smile I hadn't seen in years. I knew right then this wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning of a war. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. For 10 years, Sarah was my everything. We built a life in a brownstone just off Lincoln Park, the kind of life people put on postcards. I was a structural engineer, and she was a rising star in corporate PR. Our life was a meticulously constructed high-rise, and I never once thought to check the foundations. The first crack was small. She started having late nights at the office, a classic cliché I was a fool to ignore. Then came the scent of a cologne that wasn't mine, clinging to her coat like a cheap secret. When I'd ask, her eyes would turn to ice. "Don't be so insecure, Alex," she'd say, her voice dripping with a new kind of cruelty. "It's just work. You wouldn't understand." She made me feel small, pathetic for even questioning her. The man she was seeing, I'd later learn, was Mark, a senior partner at her firm. He was everything I wasn't: slick, wealthy from family money, and oozing a smug confidence that made my skin crawl. They felt untouchable, laughing in expensive restaurants on Rush Street while I was at home, warming up leftovers and wondering where the woman I married had gone. The breaking point came on our anniversary. I'd booked a table at our favorite spot, the one where I proposed. She canceled an hour before, a flat text message. "Something came up at work, rain check." I drove by her office on a gut feeling. The building was dark. I sat in my car across the street, the anniversary gift, a delicate sapphire necklace, feeling heavy in my pocket. That night, I didn't just feel heartbroken, I felt humiliated. I went home, opened a bottle of bourbon, and let the silence of our perfect house swallow me whole. That's when the engineer in me took over. The man who built skyscrapers decided it was time to design a demolition. My grief hardened into something cold and sharp, a plan. For the next 6 months, I became a ghost in my own life. I installed a keylogger on her laptop and discrete audio recorders in her car in our living room. I read every sordid text, listened to every whispered phone call, planning their weekends away at a boutique hotel in the Gold Coast. I heard her mock me to him, laughing about my boring stability. Each word was a nail in the coffin of the man I used to be. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who documented every single meeting, providing me with a stack of high-resolution photos that felt like acid on my skin. While she was busy living her double life, I was busy moving assets. I opened new bank accounts. I consulted with the most ruthless divorce attorney in Chicago, a woman known as the Shark. We structured everything. I sold my shares in a tech startup I'd invested in years ago, a windfall Sarah knew nothing about, and funneled the money into a trust. She thought my quietness was depression. She saw it as weakness. She had no idea it was strategy. The final trap was set for her firm's annual gala at the Drake Hotel. It was the biggest night of her career. Mark was set to receive a major award. Sarah was radiant in a backless red dress, holding his arm on the red carpet, a picture of success. They thought they had one. I had arranged for a special presentation. As the CEO began his speech, the massive screens on either side of the stage, meant to show a tribute video for Mark, flickered. Then my evidence appeared. Crystal clear photos of Sarah and Mark kissing in a hotel lobby. Screenshots of their texts, mocking her clueless husband. A short audio clip of them planning their future, funded by my divorce settlement. The entire ballroom fell silent. You could hear a pin drop over the collective gasp. I watched from the back of the room as Sarah's face went from triumphant to ashen white. Mark froze, his smug smile melting into pure panic. Her colleagues, her clients, her bosses, everyone saw. The social execution was complete. The next morning she was fired. The firm's morality clause was ironclad. Mark was forced to resign in disgrace. When she finally came home, the locks were changed. A process server was waiting for her on the steps, handing her the divorce papers. The papers detailed not only her infidelity, but also proved she de-used company funds for their trips, something my pie had uncovered. She was left with nothing. The joint accounts were legally frozen, her credit cards were canceled, and the life she had built on my back had crumbled to dust. I never saw her again after that day. Sometimes, late at night, I walk through the quiet rooms of this big, empty house. I don't feel triumph or joy, I just feel the cold, heavy silence of a job well done.